Rob, it's day one of pre-season and the lads are back in. It's the exciting time of the season for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. You know, they've been in some testing this morning, and they've done a relatively easy start. You know, because it was a testing morning. We've had some meetings, just some principles about what we want out of the pre-season and the season. A little bit of defence and attack principles in some meetings, and then, like I said, they've done mainly testing today in the gym, and they've done a relatively short anaerobic games type session outside, just about 15 minutes, because obviously what we do have to make sure we do is we kind of break them in relatively slowly. You know, we want the full group training at as high intensity for as long as possible through pre-season, and sometimes that's you bring them in over a day or two, in a week or two, and make sure that we're not overloading them too quickly. So I think there's a couple of guys who probably used to hitting regimes absolutely full on and seeing who breaks fast, who are a little bit surprised that it's finished. And I think there's some other guys who appreciate that we've kind of learned from the science of things, and we don't want to pop any hamstrings too soon. And so, like I say, it's been a good introduction. The guys are trained really well. The afternoon session was a real high intensity 15 minutes, and the guys look physically in good shape. And I can already tell by the way the conditioners are walking around that they're quite happy with the testing as well. So that's a really good start for us. The boys have obviously come in and worked hard through their off-season with their off-season programs, and it does feel like we're up and running now.
As you know, it's pre-season is all about the opportunity to lay down a benchmark for the season, as coaches, as players, as everything. Yeah,
but I think you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't try and cover everything too quickly. What's important in pre-season is you put some fundamentals in place. You get the guys heading in the same direction, and then we build up quite slowly. Because the one thing you've got to remember is if you get your recruitment right, if the guys we've had here for a few years we've coached well, if our academy guys coming through have been well coached, then actually you can put them out on a rugby pitch and they can play a game of rugby. And what we have to do then is just guide it in the direction we want it to go. So it isn't like we have to teach them to suck eggs. You know, we don't have to address every single thing right from day one. What we have to do is have a look at the video today. The new guys who are trying to fit into some of our systems, we can show a bit of video tomorrow and just grab them individually. But you know, it will slowly crank up on a day-by-day basis now. Today was just important to get the guys here, get them on site, get them in situ, as I say, and just start that training process.
We've already spoken to Thomas Waldrum and Mitch Lees already, and they've seemed to have settled in. They like the ambience, they like the atmosphere around the camp.
Yeah, well obviously the club trip to Spain last week was very good. It means they don't come into this first meeting a bit nervous about not meeting people and not knowing everybody. You know, they've got mates already here, which is very important. And I think it's quite easy to turn up when you know the people around you. And that's what we've done really well over the last few years, is integrate the new players very quickly. And all they have to do now is show that they're good guys and good rugby players, and you know, we're confident they both are, and I think they've already shown some of their qualities in the last few days and with the trip and what they've done today.
You've said previously you'd be happy to go into the season with your squad, but no doubt you're still working behind the scenes at maybe one or two places.
Yeah, I mean, you're always ticking along, and I think, as I said, because we've never been a club, and I've been a big believer in not jumping in on a signing unless you're 100% sure. I'm always comfortable when we make a signing. I'm always really pleased. That's why I always say that it always feels fantastic when we sign somebody, because they're someone we've gone after very hard and we've spent a lot of time on, and that will continue to be the case. You know, we've got the potential to make a couple of signings, but if we don't, we don't, and it certainly won't worry me heading into the season.
The international boys are away, but lots of positives coming out of those internationals, especially Joel Conlon winning a back-to-back Junior World Cup. Yeah, fantastic for Joel. You know, and as you say, you know, what worries you, it always starts to feel normal now to talk about the quality of these academy guys. That's fantastic. Obviously, you know, Tom Johnson being away with England has been great. Obviously, a little bit of a shame that Luke had to cut that short with his injury. But you know, we've got Henry's doing a little bit now. We've got and Dave Ewers are back as well, and Hilly. You know, they're around. They're not starting quite yet. They're going to have a little bit of a longer break before they start proper pre-season. For obvious reasons, you know, their season finished a little bit later, but it's one of the first things we talked about in the first meeting we did was actually we don't want to be doing this next year. We don't want to be back in training yet. We wanted to have finished our season just a couple of weeks ago because we're getting into the latter stages of competitions, and so almost the first thing is maybe let's not see ourselves here next year. Let's be coming back in a couple of weeks after a good break, because we've had a nice long season. And I think that's quite important. It's quite important to start saying now, you know, let's plan for a long season. Let's get all the work we need to done now. Let's make sure we're planning the recovery and the breaks in that we need. And let's make sure that this Premiership season is going to be a very big and very important thing for us. You've said as well, it's also a good time and a good season for you to challenge yourself as coaches again, as a whole group.
Yeah, well, I think that's what you've got to do all the time. You know, the game's moving forward. You know, I think we're moving forward as a group of players and the squad we're using. So, you know, we've got to keep challenging them. You know, we can't just keep saying the same things year on year. You know, already we've talked about playing slightly differently, altering our attack just a little bit. Just trying to jiggle our percentages around of success in various areas of the pitch, and I think the guys are quite excited about things that we proposed to them. Things I can't go into too much detail now, but you know, you look around here. You know, it's a great facility. The guys have worked very hard. I'm really pleased with the shape they're in. We don't seem to be having too many medical issues around, other than the guys we know have got their operations and relatively long-term stuff. So all in all, a very positive start to the season.